looked at the floor and shook their hands. Roof got up again and gave each one another shilling. So the man who had so far not deigned to touch the things looked at the floor and shook them. No, it won't work. 3 shillings also won't work. They didn't bend at all. Roof got up again and gave each man another shilling. I am through, he said with a defiance that was no less effective for being transparently faked. Fake means not genuine. Not genuine. Transparently means clearly. For being clearly faked, not genuine. I am through, he said with a defiance. Defiance means refusal to obey. I won't agree. If you ask more, I won't give. Like that he made. Defiance that was no less effective of being transparently fake. The elders too knew how far to go without losing decorum. Decorum means behavior showing proper respect and manners. They are elders of the village. They found it's not right to quarrel for 1 shilling and all. After all, they wanted to make Marcus to understand or notice that they are not going to cast their votes freely, and moreover, whatever he earned in these 5 years was not right. A genuine politician can't earn so much money in 5 years. It was impossible. Although they couldn't understand that fact, that particular point, they found that somewhere it went wrong when he can make so much money in 5 years. Why to cast him freely was their question. So, the elders too knew how far to go without losing decorum. So, without mannerless behaving, if they behave mannerless, it will be shame for themselves. And moreover, they never wanted to continue this more, so they agreed. So, when Roof added, go cast your papers for the enemy if you like, Roof showed his anger. Why? Because he never wanted to distribute all the money, whatever Marcus wanted to spend, decided to spend in the election, to these villages only. He wanted to keep a huge part for himself. So 4 shillings he distributed for him. By the time the last man had spoken, it was possible without great loss of dignity to pick up the things from the floor. The last man was sitting at the last. Okay, he said, and without the loss of much dignity, he took that and agreed. The enemy Roof had referred to was the Progressive Organization Party. Go and cast your papers to the enemy, he told. No, that was the candidate from POP. Their party, Marcus was the party PAP. Here they were POP. The enemy Roof had referred to was the Progressive Organization Party POP, which had been formed by the tribes down the coast to save themselves, as the founders of the party proclaimed, from total political, cultural, social and religious annihilation. Annihilation means complete destruction. Complete destruction. So, till the previous election, they never had even an opposition also. They were the supreme powers. But this time, another party, POP, People Progressive Organization Party, progressive organization party that had been formed by the tribes down the coast to save themselves, as the founders of the party proclaimed, announced, from total political, cultural, social, and religious annihilation. So, it was clear that that party had no chance to win in the election. Although it was clear the party had no chance here, it had plunged with the typical foolishness into a straight fight with the PAP. So, only one party means there don't be any opposition to them also. But anyhow, although these POP party leaders knew that it's impossible to win against Marcus, they just foolishly they decided to participate in this election and made their candidate to stand for the election. With the typical foolishness into a straight fight with PAP, providing cars and loudspeakers to a few local rascals and thugs to go around and make a lot of noise. So they provided cars and loudspeakers to a few local people. Rascals means it's a scolding word, of course. The actual meaning is the one who don't have any work to do. The one who don't have any work to do. Beparigalu ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವಲ್ವ, yeah. Local rascals and thanks to go around and make a lot of noise. No one knew for certain how much money POP had let loose in Umofia, but is said to be very considerable. They spent a huge amount of money on Umofia on this election. Nobody knows the actual amount, but they thought that it's a considerable amount. The local campaigners would end up very rich, no doubt. Why? Yeah, the campaigners will make money during this election, no? So as this POP party spent a lot of money in this election, although nobody knows how much money they spent, the local campaigners, they'll become very rich. No doubt. No doubt means surely. Up to the last night, everything had been moving according to the plan as Roof would have put in. Marcus Sebe, he was sure that he will win, but he never wanted even a single vote to go out. That's why he worked very hard. He was ready to distribute even money for the villagers. Up to the previous night, everything had been moving according to the plan as Roof would have put in. Roof planned the whole campaigning. That's why everything was going perfectly according to his plan only till previous night. Then he had received a strange visit from the leader of POP campaign team. The POP campaign team leader all of a sudden visited Roof. Although he and Roof were well known to each other, small village, Umofia is a small village, so people were known to each other very well. This campaign leader of POP party also, well known and a friend of Roof, the might even called friends. The visit was cold and visit-like. No warmth, no friendly talks, no friendly smile, nothing in that meeting. It was cold and businesslike. No words were wasted. How much to speak? Only that much. No words were wasted. He placed 5 pounds on the floor before Roof and said, so he didn't speak much. He just placed 5 pounds in front of this Roof and said, we want your vote. He distributed 4 shillings. He was never wanted to distribute more. In front of him, a 5-pound note was kept, and the POP campaign leader wanted Roof's vote. So, from previous explanations, we can understand that Roof is greedy and money-minded person, right? Yeah. No words were wasted. He placed 5 pounds on the floor before Roof and said, "We want your vote." Roof, it was all of a sudden unexpected to him. He got up from his chair, went to the outside door, closed it carefully and returned to his chair. He never wanted this conversation to go out. So he went to the main door, closed it and slowly returned to his chair. He wanted little bit time to think over it. He can't reject it because 5 pounds note. He can't accept it because he was working for Marcus. The brief exercise gave him enough time to weigh the proposition. As he spoke, his eyes never left the red notes on the floor. 5-pound note. He was speaking, but his eyes were settled on the note on the floor. It seems to be mesmerized by the picture of the cocoa farmer harvesting his crops. Cocoa farmer harvesting his crops is the picture printed in the note, like Gandhiji's face in our Indian currency. So he spoke with the person, but his eyes settled on this red note on the floor. It seems to be mesmerized. Mesmerized means spellbound. Mesmerized means hypnotized or spellbound by the picture of the cocoa farmer harvesting his crops. He was mesmerized by the picture of the cocoa farm. I work for Marcus, he said feebly. There was no strength in his words. Why? Because he knew that it was not right to cast his vote for POP party candidate. He was not ready to accept that fact because there was a 5-pound note in front of him which was inviting him to receive it. Inviting him to receive it. You know, I work for Marcus, he said feebly. It will be very bad if I cast my vote for other candidate. He didn't tell that. It will be, Marcus will not be there when you put in your paper. When you put the ballot paper in which you signed or thumbed inside the box, there won't be anybody. So why to worry about Marcus? So, Marcus will not be there when you put in your paper. We have plenty of work to do tonight. That means decide at the earliest. Marcus will not be there when you put in your paper. Decide at the earliest. Don't worry about Marcus and you are loyal to him. That's why such nonsensical thoughts, let not it enter in your mind. We have plenty of work to do. We have no time to waste. Plenty of work to do. Are you taking this or not? Are you taking this red note of 5 pounds or not? That's all he wanted, the campaign leader of POP party. Why? If Roof took the note, it's clear that Roof was ready to cast his vote for the POP party candidate. If he rejected, fine, he is not ready to cast his vote for POP party leader and he was very loyal to Marcus, that's all. So clearly, because the conversation was just business-like, we have plenty of work to do. Are you taking this or not? Marcus couldn't answer. He says, it will not be heard outside this room, asked Roof. Will this conversation be known to other people after you go out? He asked. We are after votes, not gossip. We are after votes. We want votes, not gossip, to talk about your thoughts and your behavior. We are not here. So, no. All right, said Roof in England. So then he decided it. All right, he said in English. The man nudged his campaign and he brought forward an object covered with red cloth. The man nudged his campaign. Nudged means signal. Nudged means signaled. Signaled. The man nudged his companion and he brought forward an object covered with a red cloth and proceeded to remove the cover. It was a fearsome little affair contained in a clay pot with feathers stuck on it. Some things which are needed for witchcraft. So, it was a small thing. It was an object. He brought forward an object covered with a red cloth and proceeded to remove the cover. It was a fearsome little affair contained in a clay pot with feathers stuck to it. The IE comes from Banta. Banta is, IE means a native deity. So, no one will violate his oath if anybody took oath on this IE, because the people of Nigeria, native of Nigeria, believed that it would be cursed or punished terribly if they violate the promise or the oath which they take on this IE. So, Banta is the place where normally these very strong IEs were made. Banta, name of the place where people prepare very powerful IEs. Banta. The IE comes from the whatever he opened the red cover and showed and asked Roof to promise was a powerful IE which was brought from Banta. The IE comes from Banta. You know what that means. You know the importance of IE and also the IE made from, prepared in Banta. Swear that you will vote for Maduka. Maduka is the opposite party candidate who stood against Marcus. Swear that you will vote for Maduka. If you fail to do so, this I will take note. This IE, it will take note if you fail to do so. We don't want any false promises. Promise, take oath on this IE. They brought the IE together. Roof's heart nearly flew out when he saw the IE. Indeed, he knew the fame of Banta in these things, but he was a man of quick decision. So what to do? Whether to promise? If he promised, he had to keep up the promise. What to do? He was in a fix. What could a single vote cast in secret for Maduka take away from Marcus' certain victory? Nothing. Marcus will win. Surely he will win. These things, my one vote, nothing will do, he thought. He thought of like that. IE came from Banta. Banta is a village where very powerful IEs were made. So, witchcraft. This side, to explain this, I just took the word witchcraft, okay. IE means the pronunciation IE, IE. IE, that's a native deity. No one violates his oath if he took on IE, because he would be cursed. He believes, everyone in the Tumofia believes that if they violate the promise which they took over IE, would make them to be cursed and punished terribly. Okay, the IE comes from Banta. You know what that means. Swear that you will vote for Maduka. If you fail to do this, IE take more. So this is the best thing to threaten. Roof's heart nearly flew out when he saw the IE. Indeed, he knew the fame of Banta in these things, but he was a man of quick decision. What could a single vote cast in secret for Madhuka take away from Marcus' certain victory? Nothing. Why he is working? He is working for the victory of Marcus. His one vote, it won't make much difference in the victory of this Marcus away. So he never bothered to decide to vote for Madhuka. POP party. I will cast my paper for Madhuka. If not this IE, take note. He placed his hand on the IE and agreed to vote for Madhuka. That's all. That's all means that's all. The man, as he rose with his companion, would had covered up the object again and was taking it back to their car. He didn't talk more. He left the 5 pounds note for this roof and took the IE covered once again with that red cloth and took it to his car. That the man, as he rose with his companion, who had covered up the object again and was taking it back to his car. You know he was no chance against Marcus, said Roof at the door. You know that this Madhuka won't win in this election. It's enough that he gets a few votes now. This is the beginning, that he get few votes now. Next time he will get more. People will hear that he gives out pounds, not shillings. He hit the place where he wanted to hit. And they will listen. You distributed shillings and purchased the vote. But we are going to distribute pounds and purchase the vote next time. Who will win? Is the question. If these opposition parties are able to get the vote of Roof itself, who is the campaign leader of Marcus away, then it's not at all difficult for them to win in the next election if they prepared well, right? Yeah. It's enough that he gets a few votes now. Few votes he will get because they knew their limitations as this was the first entry for them into the politics. This is enough that he gets a few votes now. Next time he will get more. People will hear that he gives out pounds, not shillings, and they will listen. That means money has a power in politics. Election morning, the great day every 5 years when the people exercise power. Whether beaten posters on walls and houses, why they stick the papers on posters on walls and houses because of wind or rain, it will be toned off. It would be toned off. That's why they use this word weather beaten. Weather beaten posters on walls and of houses, tree trunks and telegraph poles, half torn, wet, something and all disturbed or spoiled, these posters, election posters. A few that were still whole called out their messages to those who could read. Who could read is also important because in the Tumofia, most of the people were uneducated. A few were still whole called out their messages to those who could read. So what some posters told, vote for People Alliance Party, vote for another few. They told that vote for Progressive Organization Party, vote for PAP, vote for POP, vote for Madhuka, vote for Makasebe. The posters that were torn called out as much of the messages as they could. What all the words left off in the torn out papers, they also called out the people as much as they could. As usual, Chief of the Honorable Marcus Sebe was doing things in grand style. So, he was not rich by birth. His wealth was acquired wealth. So, he wanted a show off. There is much difference between born wealth, born rich and acquired richness children. Through their behavior only we can understand whether they are born rich or acquired rich. The activities, this acquired richness, in that people wanted a show off of their richness because mentally, to some extent physically also, they might have been suffered in their childhood the lack of money. So to overcome that and to show the society that they are also rich enough and challenge those who are rich and made them to feel inferior in those childhood days. So that reflects in their behavior, activities, words, everything. Born rich. Richness is a way of life for them. It's not a show-off thing for them. If they lost the richness also, that richness of behavior will be there in that born rich people. So we can make the difference. Sometimes what happens, these poor people, they acquire wealth a lot and their children, they become born rich. They won't be so show-off people for their richness. Sometimes hereditary or their parents' influence may be there, but there is much difference between born rich people and acquired richness people. As usual, Chief of Honorable Marcus Sebe was doing things in a grand style. Why grand style? Because he wanted to show off his richness, whatever he acquired in politics. He had hired a high life band from Umuru and stationed it at such a distance from the voting booths as just managed to be lawful. So, stationed means rested. Umuru is a city near that Umofia. He had hired a high life band from Umuru and stationed it at such a distance from the voting booths as just managed to be lawful. You know, law prohibits to make such loudspeaker sounds and all for some feet, up to some feet distance from the voting booths. So, he was not ready to be considered as who violates the law. So just managing to respect the law, he has stationed his life bands in the surrounding, hiring from Omuru. Many villages danced to the music, their ballot papers held aloft. Aloft means high in the air. High in air. Many villages danced to the music, their ballot papers held aloft. You may think, what's this ballot paper nowadays? Just we are voting through machines now. So earlier, ballot papers were used to cast their votes. Each and every person, adult, was given a ballot paper in which they had to tick their selected selected person who stand for the vote, candidate, and they had to drop that in a box which is kept for them secretly. After the election, the box is sealed and sent to the counting centers when the particular day which is fixed, the counting starts. there. One candidate from one person from the side of each candidate is allowed to sit there. They sit with the voter list and tick whose votes were, and tick how many votes they have received. I mean, not voters list, just a white sheet. While casting votes, they tick how many of them voted. Yeah, they can't understand who voted to whom, but they can tick how many of them voted. What happens if they're sure that from a house 4 or 5 people are there whose vote is 100% for them only? They'll send people there and make them to come to the voting booth to cast their votes. Yeah, like that. Okay, anyhow. A few were there still who were called out their messages. Many villages danced to the music their ballot papers held aloft before proceeding to the booths. Chief the Honorable Marcus Sebe sat in the owner's corner. So, as if was the owner, he was the one candidate, not the one who is winning candidate, already one candidate. Owner's corner of his enormous green car. His green car was so big like a ship. This is because they can't identify the name of the car brand because they are so new in their nature. Got it? Chief the Honorable Marcus Sibi sat in the owner's corner of his enormous green car and smiled and nodded. So dignified, smiled and nodded. He never took the risk of lifting his hands to salute the people who salute him with both hands folded. Let it be. One enlightened villager came up to the car, shook hands with the great man and said in advance, "Congrats." So, one of the villager, he thought the better to congratulate the person in advance, as everyone was sure that Marcus Abe was going to win. When an enlightened villager came up to the car, shook hands with the great man and said in advance, "Congrats." This immediately set a pattern. Hundreds of admirers shook Marcus' hand and said, "Congrats." Congrats. Con means corn green. Yeah, congrats. This congrats they can't pronounce because they don't know English. Congrats because that's mere waste. His work is mere waste because he never did anything for the villagers. Congrats. Roof and other organizers were prancing up and down. Prancing means moving quickly. Moving quickly. Roof and other organizers, his election people, they were prancing up and down, giving last-minute advice to the voters and pouring with sweat. They were tensed whether these people whom they believe will cast their votes or votes for Marcus or no. They don't know because forcibly they made them to agree for how many shillings? Yes. Agree for 4 shillings. Do not forget, he said again, the group of illiterate women who seemed ready to burst with enthusiasm and good humor. Our sign is motor car. They started to burst into shout. Do not forget, he said again to a group of illiterate women. They can't read the name of this Marcus Ibe. What is his symbol? For that, they had to vote. Who seemed ready to burst with enthusiasm and good humor. Our sign is the motor car. They continued. Like the one Marcus is sitting inside, the long green car Marcus is sitting inside, no? Like that, the symbol, such symbols we had to select, said the women. Thank you, mother, said Ruth. It's the same car, the box with the car shown its body in the box for you. Don't look at the man's head. It is for those whose heads are not correct. That means mad. If you cast your votes for the symbol head, then you are just as mad. It will be considered that you don't have head. Indirectly, he says to vote for Marcus Saibe. Thank you, mother, said Ruth. It's the same car. Yeah, that car in which Marcus Saibe is sitting, no, the same car is the symbol. The box with car shown on its body is the box for you. So you have to sign there or thumb there and put your vote in that box for which you are voting. Got it? For which you are voting. Two boxes will be there. In one for POP party candidate and another for PAP party candidate. You had to put your ballot papers in that box in which car picture is sticked. It's the same car. The box with the car shown on its body is the box for you. Don't look at the other with the man's head. Why? That was of? Yes, Madhukas. It is for those whose heads are not correct. That means mad, who are not have sense. This was greeted with loud laughter. They considered this as a joke and accepted it with a loud laughter. Ruth cast a quick and busy-like glance towards the minister and received a smile of appreciation. As a response to this laughter, Ruth, he cast a quick and busy-like glance, just a look towards the minister, how I am, how I made them to understand for which box they had to drop their ballot box. Am I not good? Indirectly he asked. So, towards the minister and received a smile of appreciation, admiration. The Marcus Saibe was so happy to make this illiterate woman to understand the box for which they had to drop their ballot papers. It was greeted. Vote for the car, he shouted, all his veins in his neck standing out. Vote for the car and you will ride in it. Vote for the car, you will ride in it. So in that spirit, he says some bakwas actually. Yeah. Vote for the car, he shouted, all his veins in his neck standing out. That means so loudly. Vote for the car and you will ride in it. Or if you don't, our children will, piped the same sharp old girl. So pipe means speak loudly. So the sharp old girl, yes, she responded that if we won't ride in the car, our children will be. She said.